It's Christmas! Merry Christmas to you! And today we have a new friend to join us. Hey! Hi, Mr. Snowman! Hello! And he has got something to also add on and to tell you too. Merry Christmas! We hope that you're enjoying yourself. And will you enjoy this book that we're going to give you today? What is the book? Yeah. It's here. Okay, it's called Mailing May. And I'll be reading this book in a short while. Mailing May by Michael O. Tunnell, illustrated by Ted Rand. And this book shows the picture. It takes a picture of a bag, just like the one that she's holding. So on it you see the photograph of this girl, and it's an old dated photograph made from brown, black, white, and you have the stamps. This is a real story that happened back in 1914, and it is a true story of how May got to visit her grandma. So let's get started with this story on what it is. So you can see that the train is crossing the mountain from the structures high above some space, and the tracks are high above some kind of land. So this kind of structure usually happens when they're crossing valleys or highland areas. Okay, so as you can see in movies as well. So let's see what happens. So this is a picture of an old lady, and she looks really very happy, and she has a cat. So this must be the grandma. And here you see the photograph of a young girl, which is likely to be May, and there she is holding this bag. Now question, what season do you think it is, based on what you see and what she's wearing, and also all these frosted trees? As you can tell, likely to be winter time, right? From this thick hat and this thick overcoat, gloves and boots. So that's how we can tell. This is a picture in the living room with a rocking chair. There is a table that's set where they eat, and you have father and a mom and a child, and they are having a conversation. So you can see that the father is looking a little bit stressed from this expression on the face and the hands which are outstretched, and the mother, who looks a bit concerned from her facial expression again, and how she wants to reach out to touch the girl, and with the other hand over her heart. So let's find out what happened in the story. It all started when Ma and Pa promised I could stay a spell with Grandma Mary, who lived 1,000,000 miles away through the rough old Idaho mountains. But when I asked Ma if it was time to go, she just shook her head and sighed real deep. So I tried asking Pa. No money, said Pa. Train tickets cost $1.55. May, I work all day to make that much. Maybe next year. So this is the photograph of May, a real photograph. You can see they boil water in those days over the stove like this. Let's continue. You can see how the mom is putting the girl to bed and the little girl is looking really very sad, right? The mother is trying to appease her. So what happens in the story? Things only got worse when Pa came back from work that night. He and Ma commenced whispering and peeking at me off and on. Then they made me go to bed awful early, which I did not like at all. Next morning, Ma shook me awake while it was still real dark. I was puzzled to see Pa's little traveling bag packed and standing by the door. When I asked where he was going, Ma only smiled and said, "Eat your breakfast." What happened next? You can see that little May was very, very happy, and the mom too. The mother's love for the girl as they hold each other in their arms. And this must be the father, and there must be somebody else over there. In those days they used gas lamps, so you can see. Okay, so that's what the story is. So let's continue. Just then, someone knocked on our front door. Pa opened up to Ma's cousin Leonard. "Come along, May," Pa said, grabbing the suitcase as Ma helped me with my coat. "We're going to the post office with Leonard." He held up his hand as I opened my mouth. "No questions," Pa said with a wink. Ma hugged and kissed me before Pa took my hand and led me out into the dark winter air. So this was the house that they were staying in, and you can see that it was winter from all this white snow. And you can see further a little travel case, and this must be the postman, and this must be the post office that they were talking about. Before long, I stood taking in the funny smells of the Grangeville post office, glue and canvas bags and oiled wooden floors. Meanwhile, Pa marched right up to the postmaster Perkins and said, "Sam, you got some new rules for mailing packages. I know boxes can weigh up to 50 pounds nowadays, but what sort of things can you send?" Mr. Perkins, which is this guy, looked at Pa real strange-like as he asked, "What you got in mind, John?" Okay, so this is how they travel in the past. There is a cart pulled by likely a horse. In those days, that's how they travel. They don't have cars. Okay, what happened next? Wow, this was the post office. And you can see that Mr. Perkins was very shocked as he conversed with May. And this is the father, who looks kind of amused, and of course the postman Leonard, the cousin, smiling away. So what happens? Let's have a look. "It's May," said Pa. "We'd like to mail her to Lewiston. Leonard here mans the mail car on the train, as you well know. He can take good care of our package." "Sure thing, Sam," said Leonard. I was flabbergasted by Pa, and so was Mr. Perkins. "Mailing, May?" he mumbled, shaking his head. "So they are going to mail her over." Isn't that interesting? Okay, what happened next? You can see that they put her on this big weighing scale where they weigh packages and parcels, and she was standing there, and Leonard was there, Perkins is standing here, hands on the hips, and we have the father looking at May. I believe it's some form of assurance as he communicates with her. Let's see. The postal code says not to mail lizards or insects or anything smelly. Mr. Perkins looked at me over his glasses and then sniffed. Guess you passed the smell test. But what about ghosts? I asked. Can you mail me? Well, the rule book says nothing about children, but it is permissible to mail baby chicks. Mr. Perkins smiled. Let's find out exactly how much you and your valise weigh. I scrambled up onto the big scale, and Pa set his traveling bag next to me. 48 pounds and 8 ounces, biggest baby chick on record. Mr. Perkins ran his fingers down a chart hanging near the scale and turned to Pa. To mail May from Grangeville to Lewiston will cost 53 cents. Well, Leonard, looks like you'll be in charge of some poultry on this mail run. Before I knew it, Mr. Perkins had glued 53 cents worth of stamp on the back of my coat, along with a label that read, this is the label. So it says about mail, and they say deliver to. So I believe this is the address of the grandma. Let's have a look at the picture. Can you see what happened? That the father and Leonard are smiling away as Mr. Perkins licks his tongue on the stamp. In those days, that's what they do. They do not use water, they just lick it and they paste it on her. And she looks like she's really very happy and she's enjoying it. Well, she gets to be mailed now. Oh my goodness, take a look at this one. So, these are the mail packages and boxes and that the postman is holding. And she is also one of the packages and she's sitting on top of that. And they are pushing her towards the postal train. So in those days, it is a steam engine. So that's why you see all these clouds of smoke here. Okay, this is how a train in those days looked like. And it doesn't carry people. They carry postages and parcels. Well, this is a real photograph of this steam engine. Pa hugged me and told me to be good to Grandma Mary. Then he was gone, and there I was, a package sitting in the post office. Before long, Leonard carted me and the rest of the mail to the train station. The big black steam engine was already waiting, hissing and snorting like a bear hog, like a ball hog. The sight made me go all tingly, seeing as I'd never ever ridden on a train before. So off she goes for an adventure. Where to? How is it going to be like? Let's have a look. Wow, look at that. That is very big rail car and it says Railway Post Office, and they're pushing it and putting it into the train. After Leonard loaded the mail bags and a few other packages, he called out, "Time to go, May." Then he helped me up the steel steps. At exactly 7 o'clock, the train chugged away from my home and headed down the mountain. I felt as adventuresome as Daniel Boone. The inside of the mail car was like a little post office, and Leonard got busy right away, sorting mail to be dropped off at towns along the way. I curled up nearby the stove to keep warm and watched. So there is a little ticket, and this is her photograph, and this is the mail car where they are loading and unloading the parcels. Okay, so what's next? Let's have a look. The postmaster is sorting out the mails, and she is watching. Well, you can see somebody at the door looking very crossed. Now what happened? Let's have a look. Whenever Leonard had a free minute, he would take me to the door for a look. My, oh my, what sights there was to see! Why, we hung on the edge of the mountain sides and crawled through tunnels. We crossed deep valleys on top of tall, spidery trestles that Leonard called steel on stilts. This is the one that you can see in the photograph here. Then, long about Leadwell Canyon, where the train track twists back and forth down the mountain. I began to feel somewhat less adventuresome. Instead, I was feeling dizzy and weak in the stomach. I was about to run to get some fresh air when I heard an angry voice at the door. "Leonard!" yelled a man in a uniform. "That girl better have a ticket or money to buy one." So they spotted her, but they did not know that she is representing a chick and she is a puzzle. So he thinks that she is in the wrong place. That's why he was angry. So what do you think will happen next? What would Leonard say? Make a guess? Okay, let's have a look. He was laughing. She's laughing too. So what do you think is the conversation about? Let's have a look. It was Mr. Harry Morris, the train's conductor. I hid behind Leonard as he explained that I was a package, not a passenger. Then he showed Mr. Morris the stamp on my coat. That cranky old conductor slapped his knee and laughed out loud. "I've seen everything now," said Mr. Morris, wiping his eyes. Well, Mr. Morris plumped, scared the dizziness right out of me. Even my stomach seemed better, and I started feeling hungry. Leonard said lunch would be at Grandma Mary's. I have 2 questions for you before we move on to the next page. The first one, with regards to May's dizziness. What caused her dizziness? Second, Leonard said that lunch would be at Grandma's Mary. My question is, why isn't lunch allowed on the train? So some questions for your thoughts. And definitely you can type your answer into the comments below. So let's go on. What happens next? Here we are on to the next page. And in this picture, you can see the train station, Lewiston. So May has arrived at her destination. We also have, next to the train, what is this? A horse cart. You can see that this horse is blindfolded. Have a thought, why so? And the next is, because of the setting of this story, which happened long ago, we don't have cars at a point of time for transport. So they use horse carts. This is how a horse cart looks like, and this is how they live their times. When they want to get to somewhere, there will be a driver, and they will board the cart at the back, and it will be pulled by the horse. We have on the next page an old photograph of a house, and we can see the postmaster Leonard holding the hands of May and helping her with her package. And where are they going? Let's have a look. The train made a few more stops at towns like Sweetwater and Joseph before we pulled into the Lewiston Railroad Station. Since this was the end of the line, Leonard had time to be my mail carrier, and we headed for Grandma Mary's place. Oh, so what do we have here? So Leonard is behind, and May is rushing, hands outreach to who else but Grandma Mary. And there's the cat. And can we look at their facial expressions? How do you think they must have felt when they saw each other? Just by looking at expressions, I believe you will be able to tell that. And let's see what the story says. The second I laid eyes on Grandma Mary, I felt downright warm inside. Ma and Pa had kept their promise, after all, with a little help from the U.S. Post Office. Let's take a look at this paragraph again. It speaks a lot about how May feels as a child. That the fact that her parents kept their promise is important. Now, it's not easy to be a parent. Not that parents do not want to keep their promise, but with a little bit of creativity while sticking to their own values. But in this case, the past is not able to afford, or simply because the money has its own priorities or where it would be spent on. So with a bit of creativity, they managed to fulfill their own values, at the same time able to help May travel safely to Grandma Mary. Isn't it amazing? With that, we end the story. This is a long paragraph of the author's note, and it is a true story which happened, exact date, January 1st, 1913. And there is a full description of how the setting was like no decent roads, traversing the 75 miles of the rugged mountain terrain between Grangeville and Lewiston. So they speak about that, and they drew these watercolor paintings, as you can see from the pages. Right. So the author and the illustrator did a very good job in depicting what it was like during the time. And there's a little bit of fiction in May's story, in the sense that, if you look at that, the basic historical facts are accurate, But in terms of the adventure, maybe they could be a bit of spiced up. Okay, so it's all written here. And the details were only discovered in the early 20th century, and she did a bit of research to reflect its accuracy as much as possible. This is an example of a historic fiction. So with that, I end the story. I hope you enjoyed the story as much as me. When I first saw this book and read it to my own children, I thought it was amazing. It's a real story, by the way. That how this little girl could see her grandmother, who lives at another place, with just a small amount of money, because the parents couldn't afford the train ride, and so they thought of a very creative way to put a stamp on her and to get her to go on the ride like a puzzle itself. And because she was small enough, it was possible. So this story itself happened in the 1914. So it's pretty amazing. And to think of such creativity eventually because of love, the father and the mother managed to get the child to visit the grandmother. So the story is really awesome and very touching. See you next week for the next story. Bye! Enjoy your Christmas!